This review is late, like really late. And not just late for best of 2023 late, this should have been done mid-2023. But I have an excuse. The fault really lies on Marantz's side because this receiver is just so damn good. And because of that, I ended up pairing it with everything that I had in-house. It was at the head and the heart for almost every home theater system that I've had. Actually, no, every home theater system that I had in-house. Small bookshelf theater systems, overkill high-end systems, cinema-based theater systems, quite literally everything. And because of that, the due date for this review just kept getting pushed until right now when I realized that, oh no, I never did this review. This review is going to be all positive, and I really only have one bad thing to say, and that again is directed towards Marantz. You're not getting this receiver back. I'm sorry, I don't care if I have to pay full retail. I'm keeping this one. It's mine now. For those watching, I'm not going to spend too much time waxing poetically about the sound of this receiver. It sounds good, and it follows suit with the other Marantz products in their lineup. It has a great, warm, balanced sound. It's robust. It's easy to live with. But what I was more impressed with was the overall functionality of this unit and how well it integrated into my system. I initially requested this receiver once I got word that Empyrean Audio was going to be sending me 3 crazy speaker packages along with a 7-channel 200-watt power amplifier. I decided to pair my Sony STR790, a small, fairly capable receiver, with a Novus line in my living room upstairs, but I needed something else to accommodate the other speaker packages. And rather than pick one up for myself, I decided to reach out to see if Marantz had a receiver available because their new Cinema line had just released. And the smallest of them, the Cinema 70, the one in for review, really intrigued me because it had 7 channels of pre-outs. Should you get one of these? Simply put, yes. If you're on the market for a receiver and you value good looks, get this. If you're on the market for a receiver and you listen to music and watch movies fairly equally, get this. Or if you watch movies and listen to music in the same room, get this. And if you're on the market for a receiver and you are looking to save money up front but expand in the future, get this. And I think lastly, if you're looking to pick up your first piece of audio gear, or serious piece of audio gear, this is wholeheartedly the one that I would recommend. For those of you looking to get your first piece of audio gear, I really think this is a product you should consider. In the past, I would have said, just get a basic integrated amplifier and a pair of speakers and that'll serve you well into the future. And while part of that is true, I really think that this now is the type of product to consider. It's just so much more functional. It's really dual purpose. Like you get a great stereo amplifier and then you also get a great home cinema amplifier. And the fact that this has 7 channels of pre-outs means that you can expand this to your heart's content. You can add a center, you can add surrounds, you can blow this out into a full home theater system. And then if you choose to, at the click of a button, really, you can just turn this into a great 2-channel setup. Really, the choice is yours. And the ability to have that level of expandability and customization makes this really the one to get. This is a Slimline Dolby Atmos DTS-X 8K Ultra HD with HEOS streaming built in. It's 50 watts a channel, 2 channels driven, which means in real world, with all channels driven, it's going to be a bit less, but Marantz offers like a 70% guarantee on their receiver, so 70% of 50, I'm an art major, I think it's like 30, 35 watts or so, like that's what you're going to be getting real world. But that's fine. With my Q Acoustic Cinema package, I'm able to run that right off of this receiver, nothing else connected, perfectly, and it's great. This also has 7 channels of pre-outs, which means that you can, as I did, power some of the most ridiculous theater packages with relative ease. It features 6 HDMI inputs, 3 of which are 8K capable. It can upscale 1080 and 4K to 8K. Sadly, all of my TVs are still 1080. This is Ethernet and Wi-Fi capable. You also get 3 assignable RCA ins, a phono input, a network input, 2 digital inputs, 1 optical, 1 coaxial, Bluetooth, an FM antenna, trigger inputs, and there's surround formats galore. DTS HD Master, DTS X, DTS Neural, DTS Virtual X, Dolby True HD, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Height Virtualization, Dolby Atmos Music, Dolby Surround, HEA, Spotify Connect, Sirius. Does anyone use Sirius anymore? Like, seriously, I'm just asking. If you do, comment below. I had it in my Kia Rio back in the day when I got that, and I just let it expire. I don't listen to it. So, yeah, if you do, let me know. AirPlay 2, it's Roon tested, Deezer, Amazon Music HD, Amazon Music, Tidal, iHeartRadio, Napster. Napster's another one. Like, Napster? SoundCloud, and Mood Mix. It does nearly everything you would want a modern receiver to do, and I think it would suit most people quite well. There's more, of course, and you can follow the link in the description to find out more about this product, or just use Google. And you can also find the manual to answer any of your other questions. Marantz is, in my humble opinion, best in class as far as amplifier and receiver industrial design goes. I love the way their stuff looks, and I wish I could own all of their products because they look amazing. The porthole design that houses the display on the front fits better in this new design, and the shiny textured sides add an element of class and elevate the design without being distracting to live with. The back panel is well sorted and easy to navigate. The remote is fully featured and visually complementary to the receiver. It's not merely an afterthought. Unboxing this gave me the impression of unboxing a much pricier component. The presentation was clean and well laid out. Everything was well packed and sorted with care. I didn't shoot any B-roll of me unboxing this product. I was too excited to get them, and there's no way that I could repackage it and then unbox it for the camera because the boxes are all ripped up. And I might have thrown out the main box because I'm not sending this back. Getting set up is a breeze. Marantz's on-screen menus is easy to navigate and really easy to go through, especially for a fairly non-techie guy like me, which is odd given what I do. But first running Odyssey, which is super easy and rather painless. Now, I did make some manual adjustments to augment the sound to my liking, especially with the larger theater packages where the proximity of the rear speakers was a little closer to my head than I would have liked, and I did bring those levels down to sort of compensate for where I was sitting, and I brought the center up to better integrate into the room. As I mentioned, the power 50 watts 2 channels driven was more than enough for my Q Acoustics 5.1 theater package, and I think it would be more than enough for any small bookshelf-based theater systems. It was equally great for the Nova speaker package from Empyrean Audio. But if you ever felt like power was lacking or you just felt like upgrading, remember there's 7 channels of pre-outs that you can have fun with. And in my case, having the E7 around at the time, I simply connected all 7 channels to that and I was off to the races. I also had the fortune of connecting the left and right pre-outs to some great integrated amplifiers. I connected it to the Arkham A25, the Rotel 1592 Mark II, the Technics SU-GX70, and the Cambridge Evo 150, which is actually the amplifier that I have it connected to currently. The other equipment that I used was an Apple TV 4K, an extremely small TV, and the Cambridge Audio Alva TT V2 turntable. Because everything in this review is roses, you can guess that the Marantz performed admirably with every speaker package I connected to it. With the receiver acting standalone, it was able to power the Q Acoustics package rather easily. Ditto for the Nova speaker package from Empyrean Audio. They're both small bookshelf-based systems, so a lot of power really wasn't needed. However, once I got an integrated amplifier connected, I was able to just crank up the volume a little more willy-nilly and not really have to worry about it. With the Nova speaker package, I did that review with the Sony receiver in play, and that receiver was able to power that speaker package quite well. And the Marantz receiver was no different. Standalone, it was easily able to power those speakers without fuss. Where things changed, though, was when I got the E7 power amplifier in play. That speaker package opened up quite a bit more, and I can wholly say that, well, part 2 of that review is coming, but also more power for those speakers is extremely beneficial, especially if you want the sound to open up and for you to be a bit more immersed in the sound. Another system I tried was a little bit unorthodox. I used the quad Revella speakers. I used the Revella 2s, their floor standers, connected to the Rotel 1592 Mark II, connected to the pre-outs of the Marantz. And then I used the Revella 1s, their bookshelf speakers, as the side surrounds. For the center, I used the B&W 607 S3, and I used the other speaker as the rear surround speaker. I also had the Monitor Audio Anther 12 subwoofer connected, and that speaker package, while super unorthodox, sounded amazing. Again, it would be better if I had cohesion of all Revella, but like the B&W 607 has enough detail on hand to work as a center speaker, and I left this connected more than I would like to admit. It sounded really good, and with all of those speakers in play, you playing Sisu, if you haven't seen that movie, just go watch it. It is incredible, and all the rattles, all the shakes, it was amazing. I absolutely loved this system. If I could have hung on to all those speakers, this would have been my theater system moving forward. I wholly recommend it. Keeping the B&W 607s in place as the center and the rear surround, I switched out the quad Revella 2s with the B&W 606 S3s for the front duties, then also used Q acoustic speakers as my side surrounds. Other than just a slight decrease in scale, I was still treated to a really immersive listening experience with that movie, and having the ability to offload some of the power from the receiver into a separate amplifier really opens up a lot of possibilities depending on what your budget is and what speakers you have on hand. With the Aperion Audio Veris and Theatra systems, I used all 7 channels of pre-outs into the E7 power amplifier, and rather than have you watch me blather on about how great those systems were, I did individual reviews of each one of those systems. Suffice to say, those speaker packages and the setups, as far as just like home audio theater setups go, they're about as life-changing as I could have ever imagined for like audio at home. Like, it was better than a theater and the best sounding cinema experiences I've ever had. So yeah. For streaming music, I find the functionality on board to be fairly easy to use. I use Spotify Connect for most things. I just find it really easy. I like the interface, and so that's what I go with. And most of the time, if I'm using Spotify, it's off my phone, so I'm kind of disconnected from the streaming on board. But I find that Spotify Connect or the onboard HEOS streaming to sound infinitely better for whatever reason than the music coming directly off the Apple TV 4K. I don't know if it's a setting that I have, but the Apple TV sounds like hot garbage with music via the Marantz versus music played or streamed directly off the Marantz itself. So it might be something I'm doing. But then also, if I'm being honest, for day-to-day music listening, I have the Marantz connected to the Evo 150 as my daily sort of setup, where pre-outs are going into the Evo 150 and those power the fronts for anything right now. Currently, they're powering the B&W 705 speakers, and that's my streaming of choice. Like, I stream right off a streaming integrated amplifier, so that's what I use. But yeah, it works. Streaming works, and it's easy to listen to. I did try out the phono stage of the Marantz, and it does sound good. I paired it with the Alva TT V2 turntable, and it sounded great to my ears. Though I will say that the one inside the Alva TT itself did sound a bit fuller and just bigger. But let's be honest, the fact that the Marantz has an internal phono stage is just amazing in itself. And if this was to be your first product that you buy, the fact that you have a receiver, a great stereo amp, streaming, and the fact that you can connect a turntable is just amazing. So it sounds good, it works, it's aces. Like I mentioned off the top, this has basically everything you would want a modern AV receiver to have. And the fact that this comes in a beautiful, small package is just a bonus. I wholly recommend this to anyone that's looking for a new receiver, and especially those of you that are looking to get your first component. Go buy it. I binge watched The Americans, which is, now that I think of it, probably not a good show to mention that I watched because it's really lacking in surround field effects. So much so that the Rotel would actually just power off after a few minutes of not receiving a signal. So maybe I shouldn't mention it in this review, but I did. And if you've seen The Americans, you know it's a great show. So